This is Fred. Fred owns a storefront and recently expanded his business to include an e-commerce site so he can sell to customers near and far. In the store, Fred uses an electronic point-of-sale system to process credit card transactions. Fred's POS system connects to a back-of-the-house server that transmits credit card transaction data over the internet. Fred receives a very disturbing call from his bank. The banker tells Fred that criminals have hacked into his computer system and stolen his customers' credit card data. Fred feels terrible the hackers used the data to make fraudulent purchases, but he's about to feel a whole lot worse. The bank sets aside a significant portion of Fred's credit card receivables to cover the potential cost of the credit card fraud. Fred is perplexed. He thought, he is the victim here. The banker tells him yes, but also no. Fred gets ready for his education in PCI DSS. Major credit card companies created the Payment Card Industry Data Security Council at the very beginning. The council created data security rules designed to prevent the theft of credit card data and how to deal with these issues. These rules are called the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standards, or PCI DSS for short. PCI DSS consists of 12 requirements and over 200 sub-requirements, which are constantly changing. Any business that stores, processes, or transmits payment card holder data must comply with these standards and sub-requirements. The credit card companies require the banks and credit card processors to comply with PCI data security standards. The banks and credit card processors, in turn, require merchants to comply with PCI DSS. The banks and credit card processors do this by embedding terms in their standard merchant contracts. Under these contracts, merchants must agree to comply with PCI DSS. Following these, they also agree to take financial responsibility for any losses when frauds occur. When a data security breach occurs, the bank requires the merchant to hire a computer forensics expert to audit the merchant's computer network. Hiring the forensics expert is, you guessed it, yet another expense for Fred. If the forensics expert concludes that Fred is non-compliant with PCI DSS, then the credit card companies will fine Fred's bank, which in turn will fine Fred. These fines can increase dramatically depending on the extent of the PCI violation, but that's not all. Consumers have a right to reverse fraudulent credit card charges and obtain new credit cards. These costs also get passed along to the merchant. The total cost of a data security breach can be staggering. For example, some estimate the total cost of Target's 2013 breach at $3.2 billion. Yes, that is billion. This is all news to Fred. Unfortunately, Fred is vaguely aware of data security issues, but he bought a POS system that he was told was the best and safest on the market. His POS provider installed the system, configured it, and periodically provides service and upgrades, all of which Fred pays for, thinking he's protected. Fred's wrong. Most POS providers use standard contracts under which they disclaim any liability for PCI DSS noncompliance. That means merchants are on their own when a data security breach occurs. And, unfortunately, hackers love POS systems. In 2013, POS intrusions were among the top 3 security threats along with web application attacks and cyber espionage. The retail industry was the #1 target in 2013, with nearly 22% of network intrusions occurring at retailers. But what about Fred's vendors? The vendor will bear the brunt if they are the one who experiences a breach, right? Wrong. If Fred shares his customer information with a vendor, he will be responsible. And if Fred gives a vendor access to his network and that access leads to a breach of Fred's customer data, you guessed it, Fred is responsible. What about Fred now? What's the alternative to hiring a computer forensics expert, paying fines and penalties for non-compliance, and paying for chargebacks and card reissuance penalties? Well, the simplest would be to quit accepting credit cards. But If that won't work, follow all PCI and company standards. Speak up if you suspect a problem. Still have questions? Contact the Global Security, Privacy, and Compliance team at info-sec-requests@staples.com.